Oh, hey. Whoa! Hey. Whoa! Whoa! Hey.
What's actually going on here? What's actually happening in this moment? We talk a lot about the Joe Biden crimes, the Joe Biden crime family. What's really happening? Who's really behind all of this? It's really Joe Biden. There's a scene from Seinfeld where George Costanza's dad's like, my son George isn't capable of coming up with a scheme like that. My boy George, he can't do it. He's not smart enough. It's really not Joe Biden. And when you put your brain to it, it's really not Joe. Joe's not smart enough. Joe got caught, but Joe's dumb. He's stupid. And all these crimes, well, they took place during a very different administration, ladies and gentlemen. They took place during an administration of a guy whose name rhymes with Shimlock Obama. He was the president for 8 straight years, you may recall. He was also a president who was often mocked and derided by Donald Trump, as Donald Trump made foyer after foyer into the public policy space and into the political space. Donald Trump's been dipping his toes into this pool for a long time, and Donald Trump decided to go hard in on Barack Obama. Barack Obama doesn't like that and didn't like that. In fact, on a Jimmy Kimmel segment, Barack Obama, weeks before the election in 2016, had this to say directly to Donald Trump.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Ooh, all right, got him, bazinga. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, this is what Barack Obama looked like as he walked down the steps of the Capitol, utterly and thoroughly humiliated, walking next to the real president, really elected, and his beautiful wife, Melania. Then Barack Obama took off in a helicopter, never to be seen from again. Ladies and gentlemen, never to be seen from again. They walked out to the helicopter. Donald Trump gave him the old pat on the arm, and then they fled Washington, D.C. Or did they? That's a good question here. Because, Barack Obama himself has given interviews about how he'd really like to operate as president behind the scenes, how he really liked the job of president. He really liked controlling the direction of this country, projecting his own sick worldview on the people of this country and our foreign policy, and how Barack Obama really didn't want to leave because his first house that he bought was a couple blocks from the White House. First mansion that the Barack Obama family, the Obama family bought, is literally down the street from the White House. It's actually a bigger house than the White House. It's in a fancy little neighborhood in Washington, D.C., just up the road. About 5 minutes. Did Barack Obama ever leave? And what is Barack Obama trying to cover up? Well, there's a fascinating interview here in a piece at Tablet Magazine, not a right-wing publication, actually a far-left publication, called The Obama Factor. This is probably the most highly read article in all of Washington, D.C., and nobody wants to report on it because of the realities laid bare by the man who is Barack Obama's chief biographer, a man named David Garrow. Now, before you think maybe David Garrow is just some crackpot or some partisan, this is the foremost MLK biographer, the foremost civil rights biographer, the foremost pro-abortion and feminism biographer. David Garrow is not a Republican, not by a long shot. David Garrow is a leftist, but he got unfettered access to Barack Obama himself and all of Barack Obama's personal aides, Barack Obama's old girlfriends. That's where this news cycle of Barack Obama having homosexual fantasies about men popped up. This is directly from Barack Obama's old girlfriends. What do you want from me? It's in Barack Obama's letters. But that's not what this show is about. We've done news segments on that, and we find that to be curious and disturbing as well. The entire piece is really about how Barack Obama has written a fan fiction about his own story, about everything in Obama's life is a lie, including who he is, where he comes from, the stories he tells people. It's all a fabrication written by him, who was always a dreamy, bong-smoking poet, and then he's able to live out his own fantasy in real time with the assistance of the American media. It's a fascinating piece. I encourage you to read it. But here's a section that I really want to focus in on to start the show here, because it really details, one, how stupid and belligerent the DC press corps is, and two, what's actually happening in Washington, D.C. Check this out. The election of Joe Biden in 2020 gave Obama even more reason to stay in town in Washington. The whispers about Biden's cognitive decline, which began during the bizarre COVID-sheltered basement campaign, were mostly dismissed as partisan attacks by politicians who had been gaffe-ridden. Yet, as President Biden continued to fall off bicycles, misremember basic facts, and mix long, increasingly weird passages of data-esque nonsense into autobiographical whoppers during his public appearances, it became hard not to wonder how poorly the president's capacities really were, and who was actually making decisions in a White House staffed top to bottom with core Obama loyalists. When Obama turned up at the White House, staffers and press crowded around him, leaving President Biden talking to the drapes, which is not a metaphor, but a real thing that happened, and we really have the footage to show you about this real moment when the actual president of the United States showed up, and Joe Biden was essentially shoved inside of a locker. Watch.
Joe Biden is now the most unpopular person in virtually any room he enters. If you doubt it, watch this. This was the scene at the White House today. Take a careful look at this. You've never seen anything like it. That's the President of the United States in his own house, shunned. Nobody would talk to him. So Biden wandered off looking vacant as a crowd formed around a former president, Barack Obama, who was obviously deeply grateful for the attention. And then it got worse. It got much more poignant than that. Watch Biden try to horn in on the conversation swirling around Obama. Everyone involved in that conversation, including Kamala Harris, who supposedly works for Biden, ignored Biden completely. Biden desperately tried to get Obama's attention. He puts his hand on Obama's shoulder. He even calls him Barack, like they're friends. But Obama blows him off. He acts like Biden's not even there.
Acts like Biden's not even there, because Biden's not actually there. Let's continue inside of this absolutely fascinating piece as you look at this image that we are about to present to you. This is an image that became famous, it became memed worldwide. You can see a embittered Jen Psaki and every member of the Team Obama, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett. Look at all these chodes standing there looking bitter. What are they looking bitter at? At Barack Obama's final speech as president of the United States. Look at these people. Look at these mongrels. They're so upset. These goblins, they're so angry that Donald Trump became president. They're weeping. Look at the seething. Look at the disgust. Look at the tears. Look at the faces that you now know. These are the staffers of the Biden regime. Who's actually running the White House right now? It's not Joe Biden. And what are they actually protecting when they protect Joe Biden? Who's the king of the castle here? Let's continue the read, ladies and gentlemen, from the spectacular piece in Tablet Magazine. That Obama might enjoy serving as a third term in president, all but in name, running the government from his iPhone, was a thought expressed in public by Obama himself, both before and after he left office. I used to say if I can make an arrangement where I had a stand-in or a front man or a front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in sweats looking through stuff, and I could sort of deliver the lines while somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, he told Stephen Colbert in 2015, I'd be fine with that. I found the work fascinating. Even with these clues, the Washington press corps, fresh off their years of broadcasting fantasies about secret communication links between Trump Tower and the Kremlin, seemed unable to imagine, let alone report on, Obama's role in government. Near the end of June, for example, Politico ran a long article noting Biden's cognitive decline with the coy headline, "Is Obama ready to reassert himself?" As if the ex-president hadn't been living in the middle of Washington and playing politics since the day he left office. Indeed, in previous weeks, Obama had continued his role as a central advocate for government censorship of the internet while launching a new campaign against gun ownership, claiming that it's historically linked to racism. Surely the spectacle of an ex-president simultaneously leading campaigns against both the First and Second Amendment might have led even a spectacularly incurious old-school DC reporter to file a story on the nuts and bolts of Obama's political operation and what was going on inside and outside of his mansion. But the DC press was no longer in the business of maintaining transparency. Instead, they become servants of power, whose job was to broadcast the myths to advance the interests of the powerful. Ooh. You just shredded. It's like a sunburn on a bruise with a burned knee, the scraped knee that's getting rug burned. Oh, it's just wonderful writing. I haven't read anything like this in such a long time. It's just so good and old school. The uninterested DC press corps serving the powerful, serving their true master, Barack Obama, in his true goal, which is to utterly humiliate Joe Biden, to prove that Joe Biden doesn't matter at all. You ever seen anything like it? Just so grating. He's ignoring the man. Look at Biden, lost, pondering, scared, febile, begging for the attention. And no one, even Kamala Harris with her back turned to him, nobody paying attention. Who's actually in charge? This White House is staffed from top to bottom with Barack Obama hardened apparatchiks and loyalists. They are continuing every single Obama policy where they left off, and they are executing a plan of controlled demolition of America. Right now, in the controlled demolition of the man who made them all look like this. The man who made them all look like these sapping, sobbing, embittered, vicious little gremlins that they all are. All those familiar faces from the Biden regime. Do you think these people care about Joe Biden? They don't care about Joe Biden. They care about protecting number one, which is their real boss, which is Barack Obama. And that is why these stories actually matter, ladies and gentlemen, because what we found out recently is that Hunter Biden's buddy, actually Hunter Biden's bagman, Eric Schwerin, made more trips to the Obama White House VP home than known. 36 times, actually. We have the documents now. Why is this man going through the Obama White House? Why aren't we calling it what it is? Obama's scandals. Why aren't we pointing to the person that this actually lies at the feet of? Even Republicans are scared. We have Republican congressmen on the show. They're like Twitter-pated to say that it's actually Barack Obama with whom this scandal lands at his feet. The Messiah, the guy who can raise and lower the water. Maybe that's why he has so many beach homes. Because of his superpower to raise and lower the waters, you never have to worry about getting flooded, you see. He just has to worry about his chefs winding up dead off the coasts of those beach homes. But hey, that's a totally different matter.